Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the 2026 gubernatorial map. So taking a look here, we're going to start off with Virginia and New Jersey. This is going to be the 2025 elections, and decided to lump them into the other 2026 predictions. So we're just going to start with Virginia, and so far the Republican candidate Winsome Earl Sears, she is pretty behind in the polls. Her own internals have her down beyond the margin of error, which is pretty bad for her. And the recent polling just looks really bad for her. I don't even think this is a lean D race. I think this is likely blue. I think Spanberger's on her way to win that election. So likely blue. New Jersey, on the other hand, I think it's going to be closer than I previously thought, just because Trump's approval in New Jersey is near neutral, which is very interesting. So that means Virginia or New Jersey's trending Republican. It's going to be a race to watch out for. I think it's actually going to be pretty close. So for now, I'm putting this as a lean blue race. I think Mikey Sherrill, she will be the Democratic nominee. She's led in pretty much every poll. And probably they're one of the stronger Democrats to run against Citarelli, who's very likely to win. So let's go back to the 2026 map. Okay. So I'm putting New Jersey as lean blue because I think that really it's going to be pretty competitive. All right, now we're going to go into the safe states. So California, Illinois, I would say Vermont, New Hampshire, assuming the incumbents Phil Scott runs for re-election and Kelly Oyette, they both have very good approvals. Let's just keep going. These states are just all going to be won by a Republican or Democrat by over 10, so they're just not going to be competitive at all. Yeah, Maryland. I don't think there's anything. Oh, Texas. I mean, Greg Abbott, he has a pretty good approval rating, so I think he's winning by over 10. All right, I think we did all the safe states. So now we're going to into the states that we really want to talk about. For the first part, we're going to take a look at Connecticut, because sometimes in Connecticut they have close governor elections, and we're just going to go back to 2018. 2018 actually had a closest race, and then we go into 2022. Ned Lamont won by a much bigger margin, and I believe he's likely to run for re-election again, but he has not declared a re-election bid yet. So I'm assuming he runs re-election. So far, his approval rating's actually quite good, so I think he has a pretty good shot here of winning by over 10. So assuming he runs, I think he wins by over 10. In Rhode Island, the current incumbent governor has the worst approval rating in the nation, a 71% disapproval because of corruption scandals. I think he's very likely to get primaried in Rhode Island or replaced with another Democrat. So for now, I'm putting this as a likely blue race just because of that really low approval rating, and there's a chance that he somehow wins the nomination, but I really doubt it. So that's the only way this race is really put into jeopardy, is if the current incumbent wins that primary. Going over to Alaska, it's only competitive if Marian Patola runs. If she does run, I could see her flipping it. But for now, with her not announcing her run, I'm putting this as lean Republican. In Nevada, the current Republican governor here has a very good approval rating. However, he is facing a very strong Democratic opponent, which will put this race as a lean Republican one. It's still going to be close in a bluish midterm. New Mexico is just likely blue. Republicans don't really have a good bench here. Maine, there's a lot of strong Democrats running for governor in Maine, so I think they're going to keep it as likely blue. Minnesota, Tim Walz is likely to run for re-election again. I think he wins by a likely blue margin. Don't really need to go into depth about that. Kansas is going to be a one to potentially watch. Democrats might have a chance here. As long as they get David Toland to run here, they actually have a shot. And so far, I think he is probably going to run for governor here. How Republicans have some strong candidates on their side, especially Scott Schwab, the strongest candidate for them. I think he wins the primary, and he's most likely going to win the general election here in Kansas for now. So it's a Republican flip. Iowa is a race to keep an eye on. A very strong Democrat, Rob Sand, is running for the Democrats here. He's the one lone Democrat to win statewide in 2022. So he definitely has a shot. And so far, the early polling, well, they did do polling out of the. Did they do polling of the governor's race? I could have sworn. Maybe there's the Iowa Senate poll. Either that or they just didn't put it up. But I would put this as a lean Republican race. It's still a very red state that Trump won by 13, but with Rob Sand running, he's definitely going to make it competitive, but he's still the underdog. In Ohio, with Vivek Ramaswamy, so far it looks like a lot of Democrats are considering running here. Sherrod Brown, Tim Ryan. It has to be Tim Ryan or Sherrod Brown that really wants to make this race competitive, because if it's Amy Acton, she's just going to lose by a 5-point margin or so against Vivek. And according to the polling, he beats her by 5 here, so that's already pretty bad for her going into this. So for now, I'm putting this as lean Republican. There's a chance that Sherrod Brown or Tim Ryan runs, and if they do, they win that primary instead of Amy Acton. So for now, I'm putting this as lean Republican, but this could shift to a likely red race in the future. Oregon, the current Oregon governor doesn't have the best approval ratings, but I think she's going to win by a bit bigger of a margin next time because she isn't facing any third-party challengers so far. In New York, this is an interesting one because we had polling out in New York that actually had the governor's race as like a single-digits race right now. So with Elise Stefanik, who's most likely going to win the nomination if she does decide to run, she's leading all the primary polling in this race by a pretty dominant margin. Could be Mike Lawler, who also wins. I don't think it's going to be Bruce Blakeman that wins the primary. But, yeah, Stefanik seems to be one of the stronger candidates to run here. But this is all Republican internal polling. So that's something to consider here. So I think Kathy Hochul, she's going to win by a similar margin to 2022. I think she wins by a likely blue margin. But this is a race to keep an eye on. It could get closer than likely blue. Now we're down to 5 states. So Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, he has a extremely high approval rating. So he's in like the 60s in terms of his approval rating. I think he's going to win by a 10-point margin or more. So I don't really think it's going to be that competitive of a race for now. So now we're down to the 4 most competitive races. In Wisconsin, we're unsure whether Tony Evers is actually going to run for re-election. If he does, I think he wins by a lean blue margin. And so far, I just think he is favored to win re-election here. His approval rating's good in Wisconsin, and the Democrats could always replace him with someone else. So they have a good bench in Wisconsin now. Heading over to Michigan, this is a 3-way race in Michigan. The independent candidate, Mike Duggan, is actually doing quite well as an independent. So far, he is getting like 20% of the vote in a lot of these polls. However, the Republican has not led in a poll yet against Jacqueline Benson, who's very likely to be the Democratic nominee. She has led in basically every poll here. So right now, I think the Democrat is narrowly favored here, but Mike Duggan's definitely going to hurt the Democratic margin in Detroit. He might even win like the county or just the city of Detroit, like outright. He might even win Wayne County, which is kind of crazy with all these numbers he's getting. But my prediction is he's going to fizzle out over time. It's going to be like the Oregon governor's race where the independent's in the double digits and goes down below 10. I think he's going to go down below 10, honestly. So that margin he's getting, it's going to get lower and lower, and it's going to shift to the Democrat in this race. So I'm putting this race as a lean blue one. I think Mike Duggan's going to fizzle out over time, and his margin's going to get lower and lower and lower, and it's just going to come to the benefit of the Democrat here. So now we're down to the 2 most competitive races. So let's scroll back up. We're going to go to Georgia first. So in Georgia, the Democrats just don't really have anyone good that's really declared that they're running yet. I mean, none of these candidates really come out to me like a strong candidate. And Stacey Abrams is heavily considering running, which she'd be very likely to win the Democratic primary right now. On the Republican side, Chris Carr has declared he is running. So just based off who's announced so far for the Democrats, and the Democrats aren't really having stellar candidates in Georgia, I'm putting this race in favor of the Republicans by a tilt margin for now, but we're just going to have to wait and see who else declared before I change the rating on this race even more. So now we're going over to Arizona with Katie Hobbs. So far, she's led in most of the pre-election or pre-2026 polling, but she's only led by narrow margins, so that's why it's going to be a very competitive race. Andy Biggs is very likely to win the Republican primary, leading by very dominant margins in the polling. But then again, Kari Lake led against Katie Hobbs, and so far Hobbs is doing better in the polls than she did against Kari Lake right now with all her leads going into this. So I think this is a narrow tilt blue race still. I think Katie Hobbs is a narrow favorite to win re-election as of right now. Andy Biggs isn't like a guy who could really appeal well to independents in the state of Arizona. And I just think Katie Hobbs narrowly wins. Her approval rating's also positive now, which is a very good sign for her going into this. So that's why I'm also giving her a narrow edge. So the Republicans flip Kansas, while the Democrats flip Virginia here on this map. I don't think there's any other flips going on here. So this is what I currently think happens in the 2026 gubernatorial races, including the races in 2025 Virginia and New Jersey. Other than that, if you're new to this channel and you enjoy content like this, you should definitely consider subscribing. I'd appreciate it a lot. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. I'll see y'all in the next video.